The method which we are calling from the main method, that is called scaling method. The method which is called by the main method, that is called as a called method.
Yeah, so main method could be a starting point. Any method can call some other method, right?
Yes, sir.
So there is a calling method and called method. So when the method calling method, what does it do? If a method requires a parameters, those parameters are input data is being passed from the calling method to the called method. So then what happens in the program execution flow? These methods data, what is the method data? The method data, where do they get stored? It gets stored in the stack. We have discussed in the stack, right? So
Yes,
the
sir.
local variables, where do they get stored?
Stack
memory.
Stack memory. And the instance variables and static variables, where do they get stored?
Heap memory.
No, static
Heap
memory.
memory. Absolutely right.
Okay.
So all the objects, all the string data, they all get created in stack, and the reference, the address reference will be used in the stack memory.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes,
So
sir.
the calling method, if you're passing all the data as a primitive data, then each method has a separate memory location. That is what is called the last in first out.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So each memory has separate, each method has separate memory location. So main method, on top of the method 1 is being called, and then method 2 is called, method 3 is called. So each method has separate memory location. So in that separate memory location, the local variables are stored. So if main method calls, let's say, sum of integer 2 variables, then main method has 2 memory locations for A and B, and the sum method has, again, the values of A and B is being copied to the sum method. So that is what the values are being copied in the pass by value.
Yes,
right? But in case of pass by reference, what is being copied is the address location. Object has address location. Address location is copied from one method to the another method. But the actual memory location, where the content is located, where content is located in the object memory location. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So that is why pass by reference, when you change the values, actual object values get changed. How many of you actually seen the code that I've shared?
In
Seen
Drive,
the
sir.
code and understood the code?
Yes, sir. I understood the code.
Okay. So what about who's Archana? Code check చేసావా అసలు? అర్చన కోడ్ చెక్ చేసావా?
లేదు సార్, చెక్ చేయలేను.
ఎందుకని?
నిన్న కొంచెం బయటికి వెళ్ళి ఉండే సార్, చెక్ చేయలేను.
This is what I'm saying is, every day, see, all the code is being shared with all of you at Google Drive. And my expectation is every day you have to do your exercises. Understand the code. So you cannot learn in 1 hour. So this 1 hour is to brush up the concepts. When will you learn? When you practice it. Go back, spend every day, spend 3 hours writing the programs, writing the exercise, and go through the code that I have shared with you. Then you will learn it. Okay? So
Okay,
you
sir.
cannot learn in this 1 hour class what I'm teaching. I'm just teaching the concept and explaining the concept with simple examples. Okay? All of you have to do your homework. Open the laptop, open the Eclipse, write the program, test it, understand it. Then you will start learning it. Then you will see the difference. So what is the concept that I am explained? What is the code and what's the difference? Okay? All right. So that's the pass by value. And so yesterday we also discussed about strings and arrays and wrapper classes.
Yes,
Can
sir.
somebody quickly summarize what is a string, what is the methods, and what is arrays and all?
Sir,
Yeah,
array is
Swati, just hold on. I just want someone else to Shravanti or anybody? Nishvita? Nishvita, were you there in the class yesterday?
Yes, sir, I was there in the class yesterday.
Okay, can you explain?
Arrays
Did you
is a
understand the
collection.
string?
Arrays is string or arrays, sir?
String. Explain the strings.
Yes. Strings is a set of characters,
Right.
and strings are immutable. We have also immutable strings, which are string buffer and string builder.
Right.
And strings supports a variety of methods like
Right.
string joins, string trim, and uppercase, lowercase letters, and also uh, string split method,
Okay.
string substring method, and
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's wonderful.
in-
So when do we use strings actually? What is the purpose of having a string data type?
a string is used when we want to like set some passwords.
Okay. So string
And-
is again information. If you look at all the information world, most of the information is in what form? In string form. Restaurant name, food items, these are all what? They're all string data types.
Okay.
So string is heavily used in software world. The most used data type is string.
Okay.
Right? String, then the arrays. These are all the two most heavily used software because you need to have ordered data and then you need to have most of the data is in what form? String form.
String.
Right? Email is in string form, name is in string form, product name is in string form, food items are in string, product description is string. So everything is in string form. So string is the most important. You need to be, all of you need to familiar with what is string, how do we use string, what are the string operations. Okay. All right. So Tejaswini, can you explain arrays? Are you there in yesterday's class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you explain arrays?
Yeah, sir. Array which stores the element, homogeneous type of element, sir.
Okay.
Array stores elements based on index.
Right.
We have two-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array also.
Right.
Two-dimensional array which stores the elements in the matrix form.
Okay. All right. So what are the other things? String basically the index starts when and ends when. What are the other characteristics of string?
Array index starts from 0 and ends
Right.
n-1.
Okay. So n is the length, maximum length. Okay. What else are the other characteristics of arrays? Arrays cannot be resized. Once you declare
Yes,
array as a 10 element, you cannot change it to 12 elements. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what else are the characteristics? Array memory locations are stored in the consecutive memory location. There are 10 elements. They are stored in the consecutive memory locations. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's about the arrays. Wrappers. Let's say Sai Manikanta Sai, can you explain wrapper? Are you there in yesterday's class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you
Wrapper,
explain? What is the
it's
wrapper class?
it's primitive data type, can store, and also the first letter is uppercase.
And what's the difference between wrapper classes and primitive data type?
Sir?
So what is the difference between wrapper class and primitive data type?
Wrapper helps the Java program. It can be completely object oriented. Coming to the primitive data type, it's the simple declaration by the variables
Right.
and also
Okay.
values.
And
It can
what is boxing and what is unboxing?
boxing. It can be identify the distinct values from where the values and
No.
also primitive.
So, what is boxing operation and what is unboxing operation?
Boxing operation and unboxing operation.
Yeah.
It can be place the primitive variables in the object. It's known
Exactly.
as the
Boxing
backseat.
is when you assign a primitive value to an object, that is called boxing. Right?
Unboxing
What
is
is unboxing?
it refers the object conversation by the value type.
Right. So unboxing is when you assign object value to primitive value, that is called unboxing operation. Okay. All right. So then we're going to start, we will discuss today about exception handling. What is exception handling? So is there an exception handling, forget about software. Is there an exception handling happens in the real world?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
And any unexpected operation is performed by any line of code that we call as
No, I'm
exception.
asking in the real world, forget about software. In the real world, what is exception handling?
Shida in banking field.
Yeah, Chandu?
Sir, in Shida banking field, sir, banking applications.
Mhm.
In
Okay.
in
The
real
banking
world,
application?
banking in the
Yeah,
state
give me the scenario in the real world. Where is exception handling?
in the statement, sir. Statements is generated. That is the exception handling, sir. Real world.
No. Okay, let me give you an example, right? Let's say you all want to go to, let's say, Bombay, from Hyderabad to Bombay, right? To visit your family. Okay, so what is the regular flow? So you all book the tickets, right? And then you get into the train, you go to your visit family's place, then come back. That is called regular flow. Okay, let's look at the exception scenario, right? What are the exceptions? Let's say, while on the day of travel, you got a phone, one of your family members is sick. What do? So that is
You
one of the
cancel
exception scenarios, right? So somebody is sick or somebody is died or somebody is met with an accident. So what are these scenarios are called?
exceptions.
They are called exceptions, right? In the real world. So what is regular? Most of the time, whatever we planned will happen. But whatever we planned might not happen. They're all called exceptions.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Similarly, in the software also, whenever you write a software, you have to plan for all the different kinds of exception scenarios. Okay. So what are some of the exception scenarios? So internet is down, right? So the server is down. Okay. So let's look at what are the various scenarios where these exception handling need to be used. Let me share the PPT.
Null pointer exception.
No, that's what I'm saying. So those are all technical things, but in the the real world scenarios need to be handled in the software world, right? So let's look at the So what are the exception scenarios? For example, memory is full, right? Your hard disk is full, a network is down, database connection is down. So the abnormal conditions are, there are two types. One type is called a runtime errors. What is runtime errors? When the program is executing, so you can have these scenarios, right? Memory is full, that is hard disk is full, or network is down. So you are trying to make a payment from Amazon to the payment gateway, and payment gateway is down. That is called network is down. Or database connection. You are trying to store and retrieve the data. Your database connection is down. So these are all called exception scenarios. Okay. So that is on the runtime. In the logical errors, so you want to read a file, but you do not have the permission to read. Let's say salary information is confidential. So that not everybody can read the salary information. So that is a confidential. Or not everybody can update the student marks, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? And then you are trying to read a file, but the file is not found and there is no permission to read the file. or division by 0. So for some reason, your calculation is gone wrong and you're trying to divide by 0. So that is also, that gives the arithmetic exception. You need to handle it, right? Or you are trying to read, trying to convert a character to a mobile number. Somebody has mobile number, you have given it, and somebody entered, instead of the number, some entered the character, right? In case of order processing, the Amazon, has taken the order, but checked it and says, okay, product is not available, right? But it shows the product is available when it tries to take an order at that time. They say product is not available. So that is okay. Then so you ordered for 5, it checks, okay, it's available. When it's trying to create an order, it says, okay, no, the 5 is not available, right? Or you are trying to place an order for 20, but there is a restriction that max order quantity is 10. See, these are all the various exceptions you need to handle in your software. Okay. So at the end of the day, what did we say about software? What is software? It is nothing but
Information world.
Information to the
reflection
physical world.
of, you had to ask
Physical
the
world.
reflection of what is happening in the physical world, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the physical world, these are all some of the stuff. So you need to handle it. So in our program, you need to handle this. So that is exception handling. So you need to anticipate what kind of an exceptions happen and how do you handle it. Can you recover from this exceptions? For example, there are certain things you cannot recover, right? If memory is full, what can you do? Can you do anything?
No.
So a program gets terminated. If a hard disk is full, program gets terminated, right? Network is down, you cannot do anything. Database connection is down, you cannot do anything. So that's why they are called beyond your control. As a programmer, you cannot do anything. So the program gets terminated. So somebody has to go, IT guy or somebody has to go and look into why memory is full, try to clean up the memory and restart the program. Hard disk, delete some files, make the space for hard disk, then restart the program. So there are certain things which are beyond covered the program. In those scenarios, what happens? Program gets terminated. Your program gets stopped, terminated, right? So these are all the scenarios. As a programmer, you need to write the code for these scenarios, right? So you have a program, you are trying to read the data. Then if you need to write the scenario, okay, if they do not have the permission to read, what do? You have to send a message to the user, hey, you cannot read the data. So that is exception thing. Right? You're trying to update the marks, saying, hey, you do not have permission to update the data to the whoever is trying to update, you give a message to him, hey, you do not have permission to update the mark. So this is the code. What is exception handling? You need to have the code, you have to anticipate these scenarios, write the program to handle these scenarios. That is called exception handling. Okay? Clear, everyone, at this point?
Okay, sir.
Okay, let's look at what are the kinds of an exceptions. Right? Exceptions are all 3 types. Okay, there are checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions, and errors. Okay, I will explain what these are all. So this is the class hierarchy in Java of various exceptions. Okay, so throwable is the super class for exception handling that has subclasses that are called exception and error. Under exceptions, you have IO exception. What is IO exception? Input output exception. So those are all file related. So the file is not found, file do not have permission, you do not have a read permission, you do not have a write permission, right? So our file overflow, file size exceeded, those are all the types of IO exception. SQL exception. What is SQL exception? They're all database related. So when you connect to the database, so your select statement is wrong, or you cannot insert the data, or you cannot update the data. Those are all SQL exceptions. You cannot. Then what is a class not found exception? So if you're trying to create an object and that particular class, that class cannot be loaded, then you get the class not found exception. So what is the checked exception? Checked exception is the one that can be caught by the compiler. Okay, right? So for example, it can be anticipate, then compiler will not compile your code if you do not have exception handling is not taken care. So IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception, those are all checked exceptions. That means the program, your Java compiler will not compile if you do not write the exception handling code using try catch block. What is the exception handling code? The code must be written in between try block and catch block. How do you do the handling, the Java handling? So these are all the keywords of try, catch, finally, throws. I will explain each of them. So these are all the 5 keywords that will be used for the exception handling. Okay. So checked exception is whenever in our program, if you have a code related to the files, related to the database, or related to the class, then the compile time itself, the compiler will say you are not handling your exception handling, it will not compile. That is called checked exception, right? What is the unchecked exception? For example, division by 0. Do we know at the time of compile time? Does the compiler know? Will the scenario of division by 0 exist at compile time? Can compiler anticipate that there is a condition of 0 by happening here at compile time? Huh?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, right? So this arithmetic exception is, for example, division by 0. What does it do? It throws arithmetic exception. What is null pointer exception? You have trying to access an object without creating it. Then you get the null pointer exception. Okay. What is null pointer exception? You are trying to access an object. For example, there is a student, you have class student and an object STU, and you did not create object using new student and trying to access the getters or setters, the constructor, then you get null pointer exception. Okay. What is number format exception? So when you are trying to extract the number from a string, if the string contains only character, and then you want to for example, mobile number is entered as a string, and you want to convert it into an integer, then you get number format exception. Okay, that is called number. What is index out of bound exception? So you have declared an array of 10, and then you can access it only from array from 0 to 9. If you're trying to access array of 10, what happens? Runtime, it throws array index out of exception. Similarly, what is string out of exception? You have declared a string of 8 characters and you are trying to read 9th character, then it throws string index out of exception. Clear? So all these, any questions on all these different exceptions? When do you get it?
Sir, one question. Does exception happens at runtime or compile time?
Correct. Right? No. Exception always happens in the runtime. Correct? But the code that you write, the Java compiler will not let you compile unless you have, because compiler knows. Let's say, you are trying to open a file by not putting the code in the exception handling. Then compiler says, boss, you might get an exception, so it will not let you compile. So you better put the code in the exception handling by using try class. But exceptions always happens when in the runtime only. But there are certain exceptions Java compiler can anticipate by going through by the time of compilation. It will say you must put this particular code in the exception handling. Otherwise, I'll not let you continue. So that is what is IO exception. What are those three? IO, database, and class not found. And these are all the compiler cannot do, right? This runtime exception, compiler does not know that you will get these exceptions. Can the compiler anticipate these exceptions? No. Because these exceptions are based on the input data that you have given. So these are all called they're all called bugs in our code. So these are all, what are these? In another way, they're all software bugs. Right? Why will you access an object without creating it? That is a bug. You have written a wrong code. Why will you access 10th element when you have declared an array of only 10 elements? That is a bug. So when you have these errors, what do? You have to go back to code, correct the code and rerun it so that these errors will go away. Okay, so these runtime exceptions, mostly they're all errors. So these are all errors. Right? These are all errors. These are all your software bugs. That the code that you have written is buggy. That's why you get these errors. If your code is not buggy, your instructions are correct, then you most likely will not get this code. So when you are getting these errors, that means your code is buggy. Right? Okay, another one is called error. These are all beyond your programmer control. These are all Stack Overflow, virtual machine error, out of memory. These are all beyond your control. Whereas these runtime exceptions these are in your control. You have written the wrong code. Correct? So these are all, you have written the wrong code. And these are all beyond your control. So it could be, Stack Overflow is because of your mistake or because of system mistake. Right? So Stack Overflow is, you have infinite calls. A calls B. Let's say A call B, B calls C. What happens? A called B, B called C, C called A. What happens? It's called a loop. Right? A called B, B called A. Then it goes into infinite loop. So then what happens? So stacks are all getting overloaded top of it, one after another. A on A, B, B on A, B, A, B, A, B. It will go to the infinite loop. Then you get stack overflow error. That is a bug again. So stack overflow is either it's because of the programmer mistake or because system has resources and it doesn't have enough resources. So there are two scenarios. Virtual machine error out of memory again is, it's because again it's your mistake or the computer that you are using does not have enough memory for the code that you are writing. Right? So that is what is these are all the various exceptions that you will get in your code, whereas these runtime exceptions are all most likely they're all your bugs. That means your code is wrong. So you need to go back and correct the code and you fix these bugs. These are all either it could be because of your bug, wrong code, or because system does not have enough memory available, right? These are all called errors. So this is what is called exception handling. So in the but these three you need to take care at the compile time itself. Otherwise, the code IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. If you do not put them in the try catch block, then the program will not compile. So, but these it will program compile, but at the runtime you will get the bugs. Then go back, correct the code, and rerun again. Okay. So, any questions so far?
Sir, exception handle detects only errors, no, sir? Three
Sorry?
times. Exception handle detects only errors, no, sir? Runtime
Exception
errors.
handling only error.
Yes, sir. It detects only errors, no, sir?
Yeah, so the errors, that's what I'm saying, right? The
Different methods.
errors are because your code, you have written a wrong code. For example, so your program, you have an instruction called divide 100 by 0. Okay, so that is your bug, right? You have written a wrong code. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, you are trying to access an object without creating it. That is again a bug, right?
Sir.
Or you have declared an array of size 10 element and trying to access 11th element. That is also a bug, right? You have written a wrong instruction. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So string, you have declared string of 10 characters and trying to access 11th character. Then that is also a bug, right?
Yes, sir.
So all these runtime exceptions are because of the wrong code you have written. So you need to go back and look at debug and the code and identify the problem, correct the code and rerun again so that the error will go away.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right. So now let's look at these try, catch, finally, throw and throws. Let me explain them using a sample code so that you will understand. Okay, so while that is coming up, okay, let's look at the okay. So what are these keywords? Any code that you write, it has to be written in so the code, how do you write this thing? Try all the code that you have the code, and then so this is the format: catch, exception, and then this thing, right? And then this is finally. Okay.
Sir, we are unable. I'm unable to see the screen, sir.
Sir, unable to
document
see the
folder.
screen, sir.
It is shared.
Yeah, it's in document folder only. We are the screen got stuck.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's still not coming up?
No, sir.
It's showing only document folder.
Let me. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah, right now we can able to see.
You can see it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, this is the format of exception handling. Catch, exception, right? Arithmetic. Exception. Okay, catch. Array index. Out of bound. exception. Okay. And this thing. Okay. So this is the exception handling format. Okay. So any code that you have to write, in between this block, you write the code. And then if this code throws any exception, they will then so let's say you have statement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the state, so generally, what is the flow? It has to execute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yes.
Let's say if the statement 3 has thrown some exception, then what happens? Then it jumps and goes to the code here. Let's say if it is thrown code as 3 has done 10 by 0, right? Then it executes statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. You have a code called 10 by 0, arithmetic operation called 10 by 0. Then what happens? Then it shows arithmetic exception. Then 4 and 5 will not be executed. So then, who is that speaking? Who is that continuously talking? Is it Archana?
No,
No.
Soumya, I think Soumya.
Is it Soumya's? Okay. All right, good. So then what happens? So you have 5 statements in the code. Statement 1 is executed, 2 is executed. At statement 3, you have written a code 10 by 0, arithmetic operation. Then it throws arithmetic exception. Then the code flow jumps to where? Here.
Catch block.
Catch.
Right? 4 and 5 will not be
Executed.
So then it comes here. Here, you can decide what do you want to do with the code. Okay? So that is what is called exception handling. If this exception comes, then you can say, okay, either ignore it or handle it or give an error message to the user. All these are all the various scenarios. Okay? So that is what is called the how do you write the can. So try, catch, and finally. What is finally block? Finally is irrespective of whether there is an exception or no, there is no exception. The code written here will always be executed. The finally block will always be executed. Why do you want? What is the purpose of finally block? Let's say you opened a database connection or you opened a file here, and that file need to be closed or database connection need to be closed. So those are all cleanup. Finally block will be used for all the cleanup operations. Closing the file, closing the database. So that is the purpose of finally block. So no matter what, the code here will be, if the exception happens also, it will be executed. Does not happens also, that finally code will be executed. Okay. So let me show you some of the code of exception handling. Okay, let's exceptions. So, okay, all access. Okay, this is arithmetic exception example, right? So in your main program, so you have divide by 0. You're calling it the method. What is it doing? 10 divided by 0. So you're putting that code in try catch block, right? So the try catch block, so it throws, this code throws arithmetic exception and this will be caught here. So it throws, this code will throw, what kind of an exception it throws? It throws arithmetic exception. So then the code after 6, the 7 will not be executed. Then code comes to 7, right? Let's run this and see. Okay, see, this code is, so it is giving arithmetic exception. What is get message? So whenever an exception is thrown, that exception error message, you can read it using get message. Okay, the method get message will tell you what is kind of an exception thrown. Okay, clear? So one is try catch. Is clear, everyone? What is try and what is catch? How do you write the exception handling? Okay, so let's look at the next one, array index out of bounds exception. Right? So you have declared an integer array of 3 numbers, and then in statement 7, you are trying to access 4th element. Numbers is declared an array of 3 element, and then you are trying to access 4th element. Then what it throws? Array index out of bound exception, right? So then the statement 8 will not be executed. Okay. So let's go back in arithmetic. Now let's say if I change this 0 to 2, then what happens?
Result appears. No
So
exception.
if I will do that run, so then the statement 7 is executed. Clear? The earlier case, 7 was not come. The flow did not come to 7. Right? Now the flow has come to 7. You understand? Now you understood the difference?
Yes.
Okay. So let me run it again. So if I change it to 0 and run it again, what happened? See, 7 was not executed now. 6 is executed, then it jumps to statement 9.
Statement 9.
Okay, so that's the difference between whether the flow is going step by step or exception is handling, exception has occurred and the flow has jumped to the exception handling. Right? So now let's say if I remove this, so now what happens if this exception is not there? Right? Okay, so we don't have this. Now if I run it, what happens? See, it is thrown exception in thread by 0. Because what kind of an exception is arithmetic exception? We discussed, right? What kind of an exception is this?
Arithmetic expression.
Correct. But there are 3 types of exceptions we discussed, isn't it?
Yes.
Check,
Arithmetic.
uncheck, and error.
Yeah.
So what kind of an exception is arithmetic exception?
Unchecked exception.
Right? It is unchecked because you cannot check it at the compile time. So that is the reason it got compiled. See, I've removed the exception handling code, but still got compiled. At the runtime, then the system thrown this error, hey, by 0. This is called stack trace. This system gives you the stack trace.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you know stack trace? It gives at the line 17. What is line 17? This code. This 17, it thrown the exception. So what is stack trace? Stack trace gives, see what is the sequence of statement that while doing which statement the error has come and exception is thrown. That entire flow is being shown through the stack trace. Clear? Okay. So that is array index out of bound exception. Right? So the finally block example, right? So the finally block is so you this is so you have opened a file. So those file readers and all we have not yet covered, but this just for example. So you're trying to open the file for reading it, right? So because the file does not exist, it throws the error, but the close reader will be called again. Okay. So let's run this. Okay. So what is the error it gives? It gave IO exception.
File not found.
Okay. File not found. See, this file, this irrespective, because even though it thrown exception, if you notice it, this code is executed, right? So then closing the file, this close reader is called and this message is executed. Okay. So this finally code will always be executed whether there is an exception or there is no exception. Okay. You understood the relevance of finally? Finally will be used for what purpose? To use for cleanup operations, to close the database connection, to close the file connections, all those cleanup operations finally block will be used. Okay, now let's look at the multiple catch blocks. Right? What is the multiple catch blocks? So this code that whatever you have written can throw multiple exceptions, right? So then you need to have this multiple catch. So the way the order of these exceptions is the most specific that class hierarchy is there, right? So most specific, the lowest one should be at the top, the next level like this. That is an order. Otherwise, what happens if the highest one is there, then all the exceptions will be caught by this. If you move this to the top, this will always be executed and this will not be this thing. So now let's move this and see what happens. See, it gave the compilation is giving an error. If you notice it here, what is the error it's giving? Unreachable catch block. It throws unreachable catch block. Why? Because any exception comes, it will stop here itself. It will not go here. So that is why most specific exception, the children should be at the top and the parent should be at the bottom. So that is the order of multiple catch blocks is the children should be at the top and the parent should be at the bottom. This is the order of exception blocks. If you have multiple catch blocks, then arithmetic exception, null pointer exception. If there is any other exception other than these two, then code will be executed here. Okay, clear? Right? Now let's run this. So what happened? You have 10 by 0. So that's why this statement at line 7, it thrown and then it comes to 11, it gives an error. Now let's change this to 2. Now let's run this. Now what happened? So this 7 is executed, 8 is executed. Now at line 9, what kind of an exception is thrown? Null pointer exception is thrown. Why null pointer? String is declared as
Null.
and you are trying to access string dot
String
length.
length.
That's why null pointer exception is thrown and the code has come here. Okay? Clear? So this is what is called the multiple cache blocks.
Catch block.
Okay? Now let's look at number format exception. What is number format? So you have string as ABC and you are trying to read the number from that string, integer parse int. Then it throws number format exception. See, it's saying number format for input strings ABC, you cannot convert. Let's say if we change this to 1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
4,
3.
then if we run it, it says the value. So now the statement 8 is printed. Okay, clear? So now let's look at throw. There are two keywords you need to understand. One is called throw, another is called throws. Right? So what is throw is, so instead of end, this is called throw. Okay. So if you know that, let's say age is less than 18, then you want to throw saying it is illegal argument exception. Then you throw this, then calling method will catch it. Calling method is catching it. That is called throw. What is the purpose of throw? Any method that receives the parameter, while processing the parameter, it encounters the scenario like this. If age is less than 18, then it can throw the exception. Then the calling method can handle those. That is called throw keyword. You will use that, the throw keyword. Right? So now if we run this, see, it shows illegal argument exception. So this validate age is called with 15 and then it shows less than 18. So it throws the exception. Let's say now if we change this to 19 and run it. See, now it's saying age is valid. It has come here, age is valid. Clear? Throws. What is throws? A method can declare that it will throw these exceptions. That is called throws. The difference between throw and throws is throw will be a method can say that I am throwing an exception using throw statement. Throws is method declaration. You will say what are all the exceptions this method will throw. Then the calling method will need to handle those exceptions. You understand the difference between throw and throws? Any questions?
Sir,
throw
can you
is a-
explain the throws and throw once again?
Throw and throws, is it right? Okay,
Yes.
throw is you're writing a code in the method and you are encountering a scenario which you cannot handle it. What do? You throw it back. You don't know what to do. For example, so you assume that all the age that you will receive is greater than 18. But you received an input parameter of less than 18. Then you don't know what to do. What do? Saying, hey, I received an invalid input. So then you throw it back. Whoever the calling method, okay, will say, okay, I know how to handle it. It has to handle it. That is called throw. Throws is, this is a method declaration. In the method declaration, you will specify that this method will throw IO exception. Okay, so that's the difference between throw and throws. Okay. All right. So now can somebody summarize exception handling? What are all the various things that we've discussed and what did you understand and all? Any one of you? Narendra? అర్థమైందా నీకు exception handling? Narendra, you're there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, explain చేయి. Exception handling ఏం అర్థమైంది నీకు? What did you understand? చెప్తున్నావా? Narendra, are you going to explain?
Sir, I was outside, sir. I was outside and listening, sir.
Okay, so but did you understand or you did not?
Yeah, sir. I understand. Sir.
Okay, then explain, no?
Sir, exception handling is an abnormal event, sir, occurring during the execution of the program, sir.
Okay.
And it, sir, if an exception occurs, the program automatically terminates the execution, sir.
It automatically terminates?
The program terminate abnormally, sir. Execution of the program.
Okay, what is exception handling then? What is the purpose of exception handling? Kavya, అర్థమైందా నీకు? Did you explain Kavya?
కొంచెం డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి సార్.
నీకు ఏమర్థమైందో చెప్పు, then doubts I'll clarify. నీకు అర్థమైందో చెప్పు. What is that you understood?
అంటే ఎక్సెప్షన్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్ అంటే దట్ ఇట్ విల్ గివ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ వెన్ ద అవుట్ ఏమంటారు, if it doesn't have the conditions.
Okay.
అంటే కరెక్ట్ కండిషన్ లేకపోతే ఇట్ విల్ టర్మినేట్, ఇట్ విల్ గివ్ అన్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. అండ్ ఈ పార్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఈ లైన్ లో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ కరెక్ట్ అన్నట్టు ఇస్తుంది.
Okay. See, we have discussed the three kinds of one is checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions and error. So what is checked exceptions? So the checked exceptions are compiler at the time of compilation of the code itself. It says for the files or database, is saying you need to write the exception handling code. You need to keep the try catch blocks, otherwise it will not compile. Those are all called checked exceptions, right? SQL exceptions, right? Or the file IO exceptions, they're all checked. What is the unchecked exceptions? The exception that happens at the runtime, right? What is the runtime? That means the code that you have written is a buggy code. What are some of the scenarios? You have declared an array of integer of 10 and then trying to access the 11th element. So then what happens? It shows array index out of exception. That is runtime, right? What is the other one? Let's say you have declared, you are trying to access an object without creating it. So if you say you declared student ST and you did not use new student, you did not create the student object, and then trying to access st.get student name, then what happens? It throws null pointer exception because you did not create the object, right? Okay. So like this, these are all what are runtime. These are all because of code, that wrong code you have written. Your logic is wrong. The instructions that you are given to the computer are wrong. Because of that, these runtime exceptions are unchecked exceptions. What is unchecked? Compiler cannot catch these bugs. What is unchecked? Compiler cannot catch the bugs because the compiler doesn't have the capability of the bugs introduced by you, the code you have written by. So then what do? You need to go back, correct the code and rerun it so that these runtime errors will go away. The third category error is what? Memory is full, hard disk is full, network is down, database connection is not there. Those are all beyond the control of a programmer, right? So then basically, so those are all called errors, which you cannot do it. You may be able to do it or might not be able to do it. So these are all the three different checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions, and errors, right? So the exception handling code must be written in try catch blocks. So in the try, you have to write all the code, and in the catch, whatever is the exceptions you are anticipating, you write all the multiple different exceptions. If that exception happens, what do you want to do? That is called exception handling. Then you also write the finally block. What is the purpose of finally? That all the cleanup operations. So you opened a file, you need to close it. You opened a database connection, you need to close it. These are all you do it in the finally block. Then throw and throws. What is throw? In the method, you have encountered some of the scenarios which you do not know. The method do not know. Then it can throw the exception back to the calling method. That is called throw the exception. Throws is what? In the method declaration itself, you will say that the method will throw exception 1, 2, 3. Then the calling method will need to handle those exceptions. That is called throws, right? These are all the 5 keywords you need to remember. So what you have to do is, right? So you need to go back, read the concept and practice some of these things. So all the code is available in the Google Drive. Go through the code again, run it, write the code similar to some of the exercises until it's clear to you through practice. Again, practice, practice, practice. That is the only way you will learn software. Not through tutorials, not through by listening. You need to practice, then only it will get into your head. Clear? Okay. So any other questions?
Sir, one request.
Yeah.
Can we have a discussion on previous day's exam or assignment so that wrong answers people can understand where they went wrong?
Sure. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. So yesterday's question, okay. Let me just bring it up. Okay. This was yesterday's, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the default mechanism for parameter passing in Java?
Pass by value.
Pass by value, right? That's clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the, in Java, are primitive data types passed by value or reference to methods?
Both.
Both.
Pass
Pass
by
by
value.
value.
Primitive
Pass
data type.
Passed by value.
Pass by value.
value.
Pass by value, correct. What happens when you pass an object to a method in Java?
Object
Object
reference is
reference
passed.
is passed.
After the object reference, that is the address is passed, right? Okay. Which of the following is true about modifying the value of parameter inside the method?
Passed by
Pass by
reference.
value. Pass by value. Changes are not
No,
reflected.
which of these? Changes are reflected outside the method, passed by reference. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
In case of a
depends
pass
upon
by
the
reference,
type of.
changes are reflected, right?
Yes, sir, but B option is also correct. Pass by value does not reflect outside the method.
Changes are not reflected outside the method passed by value. Okay, so A and B both are correct here. Correct, agree.
Yeah, then depends upon the type of parameter.
Which of the following is true modifying? That depends on the type of parameter. Okay, Java does not. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this question, yeah, need to be corrected. Yeah, okay, fine. What is the length of one-dimensional array in Java? How do you get the length?
It's a method call array dot.
Yeah, it's a method called array.length. Correct. How do you declare a two-dimensional array in Java?
Int matrix.
Int matrix.
Option B.
Second.
B, right? Int matrix. That is the right. Okay. What is the default value of an array element of type int in Java?
0.
0, right? Okay. In Java, are strings mutable or immutable?
Immutable.
Immutable.
Immutable, right? What is the correct way to compare two strings for equality in Java?
Using operators and using equal methods. Both A and B.
Both, sir.
Both A and B. Correct. Okay. So what is the purpose of string builder class in Java?
So it represents mutable sequence of characters.
Multiple
To
sequence of
represent
characters.
mutable sequence of characters. Correct. What is the result of the following code snippet?
Hello world. C
Yeah,
option.
C, hello.
C, right? It is C, not D, because the D has space in between,
Space.
Yes, sir.
right? So it is C. What is the output of the following code?
5.
Oh, it's 5, 5.
Sir,
5,
this is
because that
Option.
doesn't, because it is passing the by value and the value does not get changed. So that's why it is 5. What does the following code snippet do?
I think join the words using spaces.
So join the words using spaces, correct, right? B.
Sir,
What
can
is
you
the
explain
result?
it?
Sorry?
Explain చేయండి సార్ అది.
See, string join. Em join ఏమంటున్నది? Space. If you look at this method, what is it saying? So this has space in between, right? These are all the words. These are all the 3 words. And this is, so the join is, the space is put in between the words. That is called join the words using spaces. Because what is the parameter passed? It's called join space. Okay. So what is the result of the following code snippet?
I think it's vault.
Hello, that with part 1 it is
Part 1 is what?
world.
So
0
that
is
is B.
happening. Yeah.
Right? B. Okay. So what does the following code snippet do? String builder Java dot append is fun. What is it saying? It appends Java is fun to the string builder. Right? Because that's what string builder, that is Java is fun. So you have Java, then is, then fun. Okay. What does the following do? You have string trimmed. String, what will be the trimmed length? So the
Yeah.
space here is removed and before and after both are removed, right?
Yes.
So if you look at it, then what is the thing? You have to calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Space.
6, 7, 8. So it will be 8. What is the result in following code? String 1 dot concatenate to uppercase. That will be hello world.
C. Hello world.
C, right?
Hello world.
Yeah. How do you compare two strings for case insensitive equality in Java?
Ignores equal.
Using
equals
equal signal
ignore
case method.
Right?
C.
What is the result of the following code snippet?
Java.
Wow.
Java.
Which
Java.
one?
Because
A or B?
A.
A.
A. Because what happening? It is doing the
STR.
string dot replace, but it is not
But-
assigning, right?
Yes.
String is Java only, always.
Java.
If we
Right?
place
So it
STR
is A.
equal to
It is A. Okay?
yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's have today's quiz. Today exception handling. Okay. Okay, that's the link for today.